African Romance, or African Latin, is an extinct Romance language that is supposed to have been spoken in the Roman province of Africa during the later Roman and early Byzantine Empires, prior to the annexation of the region by the Umayyad Caliphate in 696. Little or nothing is known about this language, as African Roman texts and inscriptions were written exclusively in Classical Latin, but it is presumed that African Romance evolved from Latin as it was spoken in North Africa and was subsequently supplanted by Arabic after the Muslim conquest. Background: the Roman province of Africa was organized in 146 BCE following the defeat of Carthage in the Third Punic War. Carthage, destroyed following the war, was rebuilt in the dictatorship of Julius Caesar as a Roman colony. In the time of the Roman Empire, the province had become populous and prosperous, and Carthage was the second largest Latin-speaking city in the empire. Latin was, however, largely an urban and coastal speech. Carthaginian Punic continued to be spoken in inland and rural areas as late as the mid-5th century. It is probable that Berber languages were spoken in some areas as well. Africa was occupied by the Germanic Vandal tribe for over a century, between 429 and 534, when the province was reconquered by the Byzantine Emperor Justinian I. The changes that occurred in spoken Latin during that time are unknown. Literary Latin, however, was maintained at a high standard, as seen in the Latin poetry of the African writer Corippus. History: what happened to African Romance following the Arab conquest in 696 is difficult to trace, though it was soon replaced by Arabic as the primary administrative language. At the time of the conquest, a Romance language was probably spoken in the cities, and Berber languages were also spoken in the region. Loanwords from North African Romance to Berber are attested and are usually in the accusative form. Examples include Atman from Temenem. It is unclear for how long Romance continued to be spoken, but its influence on North African Arabic indicates it must have had a significant presence in the early years after the Arab conquest. Whether Mozarabic, the group of Romance dialects spoken in medieval Moorish Spain that developed separately from Spanish, shared features with African Latin, is unknown. The Normans, when they were acquiring their African kingdom in the 12th century, received help from the remaining Christian populations of Tunisia, and some historians such as Vermond de Brunatelli argue that those Christians still spoke a Romance language. The language may have existed until the arrival of the Banu Hilal Arabs and probably until the beginning of the 14th century, according to scholar Andrew H. Merrills and others. Christian communities, generally labeled Afariqa or Ajam in the Arab sources and speaking a Latin dialect, are known to have survived until the 14th century. Furthermore, the 12th century Maghrebi geographer Muhammad al-Idrisi, describing Afsar in southern Tunisia, noted that its inhabitants are Berberized, and most of them speak the African Latin tongue. Related languages. Muhammad al-Idrisi gives us a single but very important datum. Writing on the island of Sardinia in his work, defines its inhabitants. The Sardinians are ethnic Romans from Africa, live like the Berbers and any other nation of Rum. These people are courageous and valiant, that never part with the weapons. Augustine of Hippo states, a fraoris de corruption of otium vel production non iudicant. African ears have no quick perception of the shortness or length of vowels. Quote, that describes the evolution of vowels in the Sardinian language, which has only 5 vowels. Unlike every other surviving Romance language, the 5 long and short vowel pairs of Classical Latin have merged into 5 single vowels with no length distinction. Other Romance languages spoken in North Africa before the European colonization were the Mediterranean lingua franca, a pidgin with Arabic and Romance influences, and Judeo-Spanish, a dialect of Spanish brought by Sephardi Jews. Characteristics. No details on the characteristics of this language have been preserved. Nevertheless, the Italian linguist Vermondo Brunatelli pinpoints some Berber words relating to religious topics as being loan words from Latin. For example, in Gadams they call Angelus a spiritual entity, clearly using a word from the Latin angelus. Bibliography. Vermondo Brunitelli I Prestiti Latini in Berbero, un Bilancio, in M. Lamberti, L. Tonelli, Afroasiatica Turgestina, Papers from the 9th Italian Meeting of Afroasiatic Linguistics, Trieste, April 23–24, 1998, Padova, Unipress, 1999, pp. 325–332. Franco Fanciullo, and Capitolo della Romania Submersa il Latino Africano, in D. Crema, Actes 2xvi Congrès International de Linguistique et de Philologie Romaine, Université de Treves 1986, Tomai, Tübingen, Niemeyer, 1,992,162–187 pp. Tadeusz une langue romaine oubliée de l'Afrique du Nord. Observations d'un Arabisant and Rochnik Orient. 17, pp. 415–480. Hugo Schuchart, Die Romanische Leinworte im Berberischen, Wien 1918.